How are you guys doing? Today is Friday, March 11th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Thursday, March 10th, and of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today, and before I do so, I'm going to take a quick step back and look at where we are in the calendar year. As we are in the final days of the college basketball regular season, Selection Sunday is this Sunday, and as a result, we are currently in the conference tournament stage of the season, as some conference champions have already been decided, but there are still some Power 5 tournaments that still need to be played. Taking a look at what's going on in the NBA, we are about a month out from the playoffs, and especially in soccer, we are in the closing stages of the regular seasons, as there are about 2 months left or at least in Europe. Taking a look at what's going on in the college basketball realm, starting off with the second-ranked college basketball team in the nation, the Arizona Wildcats would face off against the unranked Stanford Cardinal in the Pac-12 quarterfinal round. Arizona would end up beating Stanford by 4. They won 84-40 after outscoring Stanford by 3 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the second-ranked Arizona Cardinals were led in scoring by their starting center, Christian Coloco. He finished with 24 points and 9 rebounds. He shot 10 for 12 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting guard, Benedict Maturin, finished with 20 points and 7 rebounds. He would go on to shoot 7 for 17 from the field. He shot 4 for 9 from 3, and he shot 2 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the second-ranked Arizona Wildcats are now 29-3 after having finished with the best regular season record in the Pac-12. With this loss, the unranked Stanford Cardinal will more than likely finish their 2021-22 season with a 16-16 record after having finished with an 8-12 record, the fourth worst record in the Pac-12 in the regular season. Looking at the third-ranked team in the nation, the defending champs Baylor Bears faced off against the unranked Oklahoma Sooners in the Big 12 championship quarterfinal round. Unranked Oklahoma would upset the defending champs 72-67. They won by 5 after outscoring Baylor by 11 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the third-ranked defending champ Bears were led in scoring by their starting guard, James Akinjo. Akinjo finished with 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 steals. He would shoot 6 for 16 from the field and 4 for 5 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the unranked Oklahoma Sooners were led in scoring by their starting forward, Jacob Groves. He finished with 15 points and 9 rebounds. He shot 5 for 7 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the unranked Oklahoma Sooners are now 18-14 after having finished with a 7-11 record in the Big 12 to finish the season, tied with Iowa State for the third worst record in the conference. With this loss, the third-ranked Baylor Bears will enter the March Madness bracket with a 26-6 record after having tied with Kansas with the best record in the Big 12 in the regular season at 14-4. Like I said, their season is definitely not over, and they may enter this bracket as either a 1 or a 2 seed, as Oklahoma still has to fight for their opportunity to play in the tournament. Looking at the 6th-ranked team in the nation, staying within the Big 12 championship quarterfinal, the 6th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks would face off against the unranked West Virginia Mountaineers. Kansas would end up beating West Virginia 87-63. They won by 24 after outscoring West Virginia by 22 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 6th-ranked Jayhawks were led in scoring by their starting guard, Ochai Agbaji. He finished with 18 points and 2 steals. He shot 7 for 15 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the 6th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks are now 26-6 after having finished with a 14-4 record in the Big 12, tied with the defending champs Baylor for the best record in the regular season. And with this loss, the unranked West Virginia Mountaineers will finish their 2021-22 seasons with a 16-17 record after finishing with a 4-14 record in the Big 12, the worst record in the entire conference. Like I said, Kansas will advance to the semifinal round today. Looking at the 7th-ranked team in the nation, looking at the team that's representing my alma mater, the 7th-ranked Duke Blue Devils would face off against the unranked Syracuse Orange in the quarterfinal round of the ACC tournament. Duke would end up beating Syracuse by 9. They won 88-79 after outscoring Syracuse by 13 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 7th-ranked Blue Devils were led in scoring by their starting forward, Wendell Moore Jr. He finished with 26 points and 8 assists. He shot 9 for 20 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the 7th-ranked Duke Blue Devils are now 27-5 after having finished with the best record in the ACC in the regular season with a 6-4 record. With this loss, the unranked Syracuse Orange will finish their 2021-22 seasons with a 16-17 record after finishing with a 9-11 record in the ACC. Their 9-11 record was the 9th best record in the entire conference. This is the first losing record in Jim Boeheim's entire coaching career at Syracuse. So that's how their season would end, as Duke will advance to the semifinal rounds. And looking at what happened with the 8th-ranked team in the nation, the Villanova Wildcats would face off against the unranked St. John's Red Storm in the quarterfinal round of the Big East tournament. Villanova would end up beating St. John's 66-65. They won this game by 1 after outscoring St. John's by 8 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 8th-ranked Wildcats were led in scoring by their starting guard, Caleb Daniels. He finished with 19 points and 7 rebounds. He shot 6 for 14 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the 8th-ranked Villanova Wildcats are now 24-7 after having finished with a 16-4 record in the Big East. With this win, they will advance to the semifinal round of the Big East tournament. They will be playing today. And with this loss, the unranked St. John's Red Storm will more than likely have finished their 2021-22 season with a 17-15 record after finishing with an 8-11 record in the Big East, tied with Xavier for the 4th worst record in the conference. At least that was for the regular season. And taking a look at the 11th-ranked team in the nation, the Providence Friars would face off against the unranked Butler Bulldogs. Providence would beat Butler 65-61. They won by 4 after outscoring Butler by 4 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 11th-ranked Providence Friars were led in scoring by their starting center, Nate Watson. He finished with 26 points and 7 rebounds. He shot 9 for 14 from the field in this win. With this win, the 11th-ranked Providence Friars are 25-4, as after they had finished with a 14-3 record, the best record in the Big East Conference. With this win, they will advance to the semifinal round of the Big East tournament, as they will have another game today. With this loss, the Butler Bulldogs have finished their 2021-22 season with a 14-19 record after having finished with a 6-14 record in the conference, tied with DePaul for the 2nd worst record in the entire conference. Now taking a look at what happened with the 13th-ranked team in the nation, the UCLA Bruins would face off against the unranked Washington State Cougars in the quarterfinal round of the Pac-12 tournament. UCLA would beat Washington State 75-65. They won this game by 10 after outscoring Washington State by 12 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 13th-ranked Bruins were led in scoring by their starting guard, Jaime Jaquez Jr. He finished with 23 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 steals. He would do all this while shooting 9 for 15 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the 13th-ranked UCLA Bruins are now 24-6 after having finished with a 15-5 record in the Pac-12, the 2nd best record in the regular season. With this win, they will advance to the semifinal round of this tournament, and with this loss, the Washington Cougars have finished their season with a 19-14 record after having finished with an 11-9 record in the Pac-12 regular season, tied with Oregon and Washington for the 5th best record in the Pac-12. They are going to have to wait for Selection Sunday, as their chances are not looking very likely, but of course they still may be a team that just may be on the fringe of making it. But that is exactly how their season is looking right now. Looking at the 14th ranked team in the nation, the Texas Tech Red Raiders would face off against the unranked Iowa State Cyclones in the quarterfinal round of the Big 12 championship. Texas Tech beat Iowa State 72-41. They won by 31 points after outscoring Iowa State by 19 in the first half and then by 12 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the Red Raiders were led in scoring by their starting guard, Terrence Shannon Jr. He would go on to finish with 15 points, 3 steals, and 5 turnovers. He shot 5 for 9 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and he shot 3 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the 14th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders will advance to the semifinal round of the Big 12 championship with a 24-8 record after having finished with a 12-6 record in the regular season, the third best record in the Big 12. With this loss, the unranked Iowa State Cyclones will finish their 2021-22 regular seasons with a 20-12 record after having finished with a 7-1 record in the Big 12, after tying with Oklahoma for the third worst record in the entire conference all year. They are another team that's going to have to wait until Selection Sunday to see if their ticket is going to be called in this tournament. More than likely, I don't think it's going to, but at the same time, their record is more than likely pretty promising. Looking at the 20th ranked team in the nation, the UConn Huskies would face off against the unranked Seton Hall Pirates in the quarterfinal round of the Big East tournament. UConn would end up beating Seton Hall by 10. They won 62-52 after outscoring Seton Hall by 11 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 20th ranked Huskies were led in scoring by their starting guards, Tyrese Martin and RJ Cole. Martin finished with 17 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 steals. He shot 6 for 14 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. RJ Cole finished with 17 points and 5 rebounds. He shot 6 for 12 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the 20th ranked UConn Huskies are now 23-8 as they advance to the semifinal round of the Big East tournament. Entering this tournament, they had come in with the third best record in the Big East. And with this loss, the unranked Seton Hall Pirates will finish their season with a 21-10 record after having finished with an 11-8 record in the Big East, tied with Marquette for the 5th best record in the conference. Seton Hall is another team that's going to have to wait until Selection Sunday to see if their name is going to be called to be playing in the March Madness tournament. Jumping out to the 21st ranked team in the nation, the USC Trojans would face off against the unranked Washington Huskies in the quarterfinal round of the Pac-12 tournament. USC ended up beating Washington 65-61. They won by 4 after outscoring Washington by 7 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 21st ranked Trojans were led in scoring by their starting guard, Boogie Ellis. He would go on to finish with 17 points. He shot 6 for 10 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the 21st ranked USC Trojans are now 26-6 as they advance to the semifinal round of the Pac-12 tournament. They had finished their regular season with the 14-6 record in the Pac-12. That was the third best record in the Pac-12 in the conference this season. With this loss, the unranked Washington Huskies would go on to finish their 2021-22 season with a 17-15 record. They finished with an 11-9 record in the Pac-12, finishing tied with Washington State and Oregon for the 5th best record in the Pac-12 this season. Looking now at the 22nd ranked team in the nation, the Texas Longhorns would face off against the unranked TCU Horned Frogs. TCU would end up beating Texas by 5. They won 65-60 to advance to the semifinals. They won this game by 5 after outscoring Texas by 23 in the second half to overcome their 18-point deficit at halftime. On the losing end of this matchup, the 22nd ranked Longhorns were led in scoring by their starting forward, Timmy Allen. He finished with 16 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 steals. He shot 6 for 11 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the unranked TCU Horned Frogs were led in scoring by their starting guard, Damian Baugh. He finished with 17 points. He shot 4 for 11 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and 6 for 8 from the foul line. With this win, the TCU Horned Frogs will advance to the semifinal round of the Big 12 championship with a 20-11 record after having finished with an 8-10 record in the Big 12. They were tied with Oklahoma State for the 5th best record in the conference as they win, the TCU Horned Frogs are making a better case for their entry into the March Madness tournament. With this loss, the 22nd ranked Texas Longhorns will finish their 2021-22 regular season with a 21-11 record after having finished with a 10-8 record in the Big 12. That was the fourth best record in the regular season. More than likely, they will be a team that will be seeded very well, so their next game will be coming in the round of 64 in the March Madness tournament, as TCU will be the team from this matchup that advances. Now taking a look at the 23rd ranked team in the nation, the Colorado State Rams would face off against the unranked Utah State Aggies. Colorado State would beat Utah State 53-51. They won by 2 after outscoring Utah State by 4 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 23rd ranked Rams were led in scoring by their starting guard, Isaiah Stevens. He finished with 14 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. He shot 5 for 11 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Colorado State Rams are now 25-4 as they advance to the semifinal round of the Mountain West tournament. After they had finished with a 14-4 record in the conference, the second best record right behind Boise State. With this loss, the unranked Utah State Aggies will finish their 2021-22 season with an 18-15 record after finishing with an 8-10 regular season record in the Mountain West. That was the 5th worst record in the conference to finish the season, as their season more than likely has come to an end. Looking at the 24th ranked team in the nation, the only team playing out of the Big Ten yesterday, the 24th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes would face off against the unranked Northwestern Wildcats. And in this matchup, Iowa would beat Northwestern 112-76. They would go on to win this matchup by 36 after they outscored Northwestern by 33 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 24th ranked Hawkeyes were led in scoring by their starting forward, Keegan Murray. Murray finished with 26 points and 8 rebounds in 21 minutes. He shot 11 for 16 from the field. He would shoot a perfect 3 for 3 from 3 as he made his only free throw. With this win, the Iowa Hawkeyes will advance to the quarterfinal round of the Big Ten tournament with a 23-9 record after having finished with a 12-8 record in the Big Ten. They tied with Ohio State and Rutgers for the 4th best regular season record in the conference. With this loss, the unranked Northwestern Wildcats will finish their 2021-22 basketball seasons with a 15-16 record after having finished with a 7-13 record in the Big Ten. They were tied with Penn State and Maryland for the 3rd worst record in the entire conference. Last but not least, looking at the 25th ranked team in the nation, the North Carolina Tar Heels, the 2nd ranked team in the ACC, would face off against the unranked Virginia Cavaliers in the quarterfinal round of the ACC tournament. North Carolina would end up beating Virginia 63-43. They won by 20 after outscoring Virginia by 20 in the first half. They outscored them 33-13 to get this advantage, more than doubling their score. On the winning end of this matchup, the 25th ranked Tar Heels were led in scoring by their starting forward, Brady Manick. The former Oklahoma transfer would finish with 21 points and 7 rebounds. He shot 8 for 15 from the field. He would go on to shoot 3 for 7 from 3, and he would make both of his free throws on the day. With this win, the 25th ranked North Carolina Tar Heels will advance to the semifinal round of the ACC tournament with a 24-8 record. After having finished with a 15-5 record in the ACC, they tied with Notre Dame for the 2nd best record in the regular season this year. And with this loss, the unranked Virginia Cavaliers are now holding a 19-13 record after having finished with a 12-8 record in the ACC. They finished with the 6th best record in the entire conference, as it is not looking very likely that they enter the tournament this year. This may have as well have been their last game, but Virginia is going to be a team that waits until Selection Sunday to see if their name is called. But that is what college basketball is looking like following yesterday. Taking a look at what college basketball is looking like today as we are getting one day closer to Selection Sunday. Today is Friday. Selection Sunday is 2 days from today. Starting at 11:30 a.m. on Big Ten Network in the Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. The 16th ranked Illinois Fighting Illini will face off against the unranked Indiana Hoosiers. Illinois enters this matchup after having finished with a 15-5 record in the Big Ten. And the winner of this will advance to the semifinal round, of course. At noon on ESPN in Amalie Arena in Tampa, Florida, the 4th-ranked Auburn Tigers will face off against the unranked Texas A&M Aggies in the quarterfinal matchup of the SEC tournament. Auburn enters this matchup after having finished with a 15-3 record in the SEC. At 1 o'clock on ESPN2 in Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Texas, the 18th-ranked Houston Cougars will face off against the unranked Cincinnati Bearcats in the quarterfinal round of the American Athletic Conference Championship. Houston enters this matchup after having finished with a 15-3 record in the American Conference. At 2 o'clock on ESPN in Amalie Arena in Tampa, the 15th-ranked Arkansas Razorbacks are going to face off against the unranked LSU Tigers in the quarterfinal round of the SEC tournament. Winner of this will go, of course, to the semifinal round. Arkansas entering this matchup after having finished with a 13-5 record in the conference. At 2 o'clock on Big Ten Network in the Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, the 24th-ranked Iowa Hawkeyes are going to face off against the unranked Rutgers Scarlet Golden Knight, or the Scarlet Red Knights, or the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, as Rutgers will face, as both these teams enter this matchup with a 12-8 record in the Big Ten. This winner of this will go on to the semifinal round. At 6 o'clock on SEC Network in Amalie Arena in Tampa, Florida, the 9th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers will face off against the unranked Mississippi State Bulldogs in the quarterfinal round of the SEC tournament. Tennessee enters this matchup after having finished with a 14-4 record in the SEC. At 6:30 on FS1, the 11th-ranked Providence Friars will face off against the unranked Creighton Blue Jays in Madison Square Garden in New York in the semifinal round of the Big East tournament. Providence enters this matchup after having finished with a 14-3 record in the Big East. At the same time, at 6:30 on the Big Ten Network in Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, the 12th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers are going to face off against the unranked Michigan State Spartans in the quarterfinal round of the Big Ten tournament. Wisconsin enters this matchup after having finished with a 15-5 record in the Big Ten. At 7 o'clock on ESPN2, the 6th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks are going to face off against the unranked TCU Horned Frogs in the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. This was the semifinal round of the Big 12 championship, as Kansas had finished tied with Baylor for the best record in the entire conference going in. So they have a lot to look forward to, as the winner of this will face off against Texas Tech, or against the winner of Texas Tech and Oklahoma. At 7 o'clock on ESPN, the Duke Blue Devils will face off against the unranked Miami Hurricanes in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn in the semifinal round of the ACC tournament. Duke enters this matchup after having finished with a 6-4 record in the ACC. The winner of this matchup will face off against the winner of 25th ranked North Carolina and Virginia Tech later on, and of course I'm going to get to that. At 8 o'clock on SEC Network in Amalie Arena in Tampa, Florida, the 5th-ranked Kentucky Wildcats are going to face off against the unranked Vanderbilt Commodores in the quarterfinal round of the SEC tournament. Kentucky is entering this round after having finished with a 14-4 record in the SEC this season. At 9 o'clock on the Pac-12 network in T-Mobile Arena, the 2nd-ranked Arizona Wildcats are going to face off against the unranked Colorado Buffaloes in the semifinal round of the Pac-12 tournament. Arizona enters this matchup after having finished with an 18-2 record in the conference this year. The winner of this will face off against the winner between USC and UCLA right after that. Taking a look at what else is going on at 9 o'clock on FS1 in Madison Square Garden, the 8th-ranked Villanova Wildcats are going to face off against the 20th-ranked UConn Huskies in Madison Square Garden for the semifinal round of the Big East tournament. As Villanova enters this matchup after having a 16-4 record in the Big East, UConn enters this matchup after having a 13-6 record in the Big East. The winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 11th 11th ranked Providence and unranked Creighton in the final. Taking a look at what's going on at 9 o'clock on the Big Ten Network in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Indianapolis, the 9th ranked Purdue Boilermakers are going to face off against the unranked Penn State Nittany Lions in the quarterfinal round of the Big Ten tournament. Purdue enters this matchup after having finished with a 14-6 record in the conference this year. At 9:30 on ESPN2 in T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri, the 14th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders are going to face off against the unranked Oklahoma Sooners in the semifinal round of the Big 12 championship. Texas Tech enters this matchup after having finished with a 12-6 record in the Big 12. The winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 6th ranked Kansas and unranked TCU in the Big 12 championship. At 9:30 on ESPN in the Barclays Center, the 25th ranked North Carolina Tar Heels are going to face off against the unranked Virginia Tech Hokies in the semifinal round of the ACC tournament. North Carolina enters this matchup after having finished with a 15-5 record in the ACC, tied with Notre Dame for the second best record in the conference. And, of course, the winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 7th ranked Duke and unranked Miami. At 11:30 on FS1 in T-Mobile Arena, the 13th ranked UCLA Bruins are going to face off against the 21st ranked USC Trojans in the semifinal round of the Pac-12 tournament. As of course, this matchup will determine who will face off against the winner of Arizona and Colorado in the Pac-12 championship. UCLA finished with the second best record in the Pac-12 this year at 15-5. USC finished with the third best record in the conference at 14-6. And then last but not least, at midnight tonight Eastern Standard Time on CBS Sports Network, the 23rd ranked Colorado State Rams are going to face off against the unranked San Diego State Aztecs in the Mountain West semifinal game, as Colorado State enters this matchup with a 14-4 record in the conference. But that is what college basketball is looking like, as we are pretty much in the height of college basketball season, as teams are starting to become eliminated left and right. Taking a look at what's going on at the professional level of basketball, starting off in Philadelphia, the 76ers hosted the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets would end up beating the Sixers 129-100. The Nets won this game by 29 after they outscored the Sixers by 17 in the first quarter. They outscored the Sixers by 21 in the first half. The Nets would also outscore the Sixers by 11 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Philadelphia 76ers were led in scoring by their elite starting center, Joel Embiid. He will go on to finish with 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 assists. He did all of this in 30 minutes. He shot 5 for 17 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 15 for 19 from the foul line. Their elite starting shooting guard, James Harden, finished with 11 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 29 minutes. He shot 3 for 17 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and he shot a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. The Brooklyn Nets, on the winning end of this matchup, were led in scoring by their goated starting power forward, Kevin Durant. He finished with 25 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 5 turnovers in 32 minutes. He shot 10 for 17 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he shot 2 for 3 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Seth Curry, finished with 24 points and 5 steals in 27 minutes. He shot 10 for 14 from the field and 4 for 8 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard out of Duke, Kyrie Irving, finished with 22 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks in 30 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field, 5 for 11 from 3. He would go on to shoot 1 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Brooklyn Nets are now 34-33. That is the 8th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've now won their last 2 games. They've won 4 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they sit 2 games behind the 7th place Toronto Raptors. They sit 2 games ahead of the 9th place Charlotte Hornets. They trail the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 10 whole games at the moment. And with this loss, the Philadelphia 76ers are now 40-25. That is the 3rd best record in the Eastern Conference. They've now lost 3 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they sit a game behind the 2nd place defending champs Milwaukee Bucks. They sit half a game ahead of the 4th place Chicago Bulls. They are trailing the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 3 full games in the conference. Taking a look at the second and other game that was on primetime last night, the Denver Nuggets would host the Golden State Warriors in the Mile High City. Golden State would end up beating Denver 113-102. They would win this matchup by 11 after they outscored the Nuggets by 13 in the third quarter and then by 7 in the fourth. They outscored the Nuggets by 20 in the second half to overcome their 9-point deficit at the half. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Denver Nuggets were led in scoring by their elite starting center, the reigning NBA MVP Nikola Jokic. He finished with 23 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists, alongside 5 turnovers in 32 minutes. Jokic shot 9 for 21 from the field and 5 for 6 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Golden State Warriors were led in scoring by their goated starting point guard, former two-time NBA MVP Stephen Curry. He would go on to finish with 34 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals in 38 minutes. He shot 11 for 21 from the field, 5 for 12 from 3, and a perfect 7 for 7 from the foul line. Their shooting guard off the bench, Jordan Poole, finished with 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. Their elite starting shooting guard, Klay Thompson, finished with 18 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 20 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. Their all-star starting small forward, Andrew Wiggins, finished with 7 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 3 for 11 from the field, and he shot 1 for 7 from 3. With this win, the Golden State Warriors are now 45-22. They are tied with the Memphis Grizzlies for the second-best record in the Western Conference and the second-best record in the NBA. The Warriors have won their last 2 games, and they've won 3 of their last 10. In the playoff picture, sitting even with the Grizzlies, they are sitting 8.5 games behind the first seed Phoenix Suns at the moment, and they are sitting 3 games ahead of the 4th place Utah Jazz. With this loss, the Denver Nuggets are now 40-27. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference. They've now lost only 2 of their last 10 games. In the playoff picture, they sit half a game behind the 5th place Dallas Mavericks. They are sitting 2 games ahead of the 7th place Minnesota Timberwolves, and they are trailing the Western Conference and NBA leading Phoenix Suns by 13.5 games at the moment. That is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Taking a look at what's going on today, because today is Friday, today's primetime matchups are going to be on NBA TV. The first primetime matchup will be at 8 o'clock as the Memphis Grizzlies are going to host the New York Knicks at 8 o'clock in FedEx Forum. The Grizzlies, the home team, enter this matchup holding the second best record in the NBA, tied with the Warriors. The Grizzlies have won 6 of their last 10 games. They sit 8.5 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns alongside the Warriors. The New York Knicks enter this matchup as the team on the road. They've won their last 3 games. They've won 3 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 3.5 games behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks outside of the Eastern Conference playoffs, so of course they need to win here. The other primetime matchup will be at 10:30 in the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Lakers are going to host the Washington Wizards. The hometown Los Angeles Lakers enter this matchup as the 9th ranked team in the Western Conference. They've lost their last 2 games and they've lost 8 of their last 10. They are sitting 5.5 games behind the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers in the Western Conference playoff picture. And of course, not to mention that taking a look at where the Wizards are, the team on the road, they enter this matchup after having lost 6 of their last 10 games. They are sitting 1.5 games behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks outside of the Eastern Conference play-in picture. Looking at the games that aren't on prime time at 7 o'clock, the Orlando Magic, who hold the worst record in the NBA and are the only team with 50 losses, are going to host the Minnesota Timberwolves. At 7:30, the Atlanta Hawks, who are holding on to that 10th spot in the East, are going to host the Los Angeles Clippers. At 7:30, the Boston Celtics are going to host the Detroit Pistons. At 8 o'clock, the Miami Heat, who hold the best record in the East, are going to host the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are holding on to a playoff spot at the moment. At 8 o'clock, the Houston Rockets, who hold the worst record in the West, are going to host the Dallas Mavericks. At 8 o'clock, the New Orleans Pelicans, who are holding on to that 10th spot in the Western Conference, are going to host the Charlotte Hornets. Looking at 8:30 8:30, the San Antonio Spurs are going to host the Utah Jazz in the AT&T Center. At 9 o'clock, the NBA leading Phoenix Suns are going to host the Toronto Raptors at the Footprint Center. That's what the NBA is looking like. And then taking a look at what soccer is going to look like today, coming off of yesterday's Europa League matchups. Of course, RB Leipzig has already advanced past Spartak Moscow because of the Russian invasion. Sevilla was able to beat West Ham in their first leg 1-0. Atalanta was able to beat Bayer Leverkusen 3-2 at Atalanta. They would get a brace from Luis Muriel, who scored a goal in both halves. Barcelona would end up drawing with Galatasaray in Barcelona. Braga would end up beating Monaco 2-0, and Rangers would end up beating Red Star Belgrade. Taking a look at what's going on today, starting off in Spain at 3 o'clock, Atletico Madrid is going to host Cádiz at 3 o'clock. Atletico Madrid enters this matchup with the fourth best record in Spain, as they are sitting even with Barcelona, but Barcelona has the advantage as they have played one less game, and they have the goal differential advantage. With the win here, Atletico Madrid would temporarily be put into third place and put the pressure on Barcelona. As the team that they are facing, Cádiz, enters this matchup with the third worst record in Spain and are in danger of relegation at the moment. So they still have a lot to fight for, but Atletico Madrid have a good chance to jump Barcelona. And then in France, in Ligue 1, the reigning Ligue 1 champs Lille are going to host Saint-Étienne at 3 o'clock. Lille right now is holding on to the seventh best record in all of France right now, as they are sitting even in points with Nantes. With a win here, they could temporarily jump into fifth place after being a lot lower a lot earlier. So they're making their jumps up the group, as the team they're facing, Saint-Étienne, is the fourth worst team in France. So this is a good chance for Lille. And with that said, that's virtually everything that I have as we navigate the world of sports one day at a time. I want to thank the ESPN, NCAA, NBA, and FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures that I needed in order to do this episode. I also want to thank everyone for listening to all 37 minutes of this episode. I want to thank everyone for listening. I do hope all is well. Once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Saturday, March 12th, for another episode of The Elite. I want to thank everyone once again. I do hope all is well, and I will catch you with another episode of The Elite tomorrow. Thanks for listening to my piece, and peace out.